Hi, John Morgan here with the Keep Growing podcast. In our last episode, we covered creating a garden journal. A garden journal is a key part of managing your garden space. Whether you're using a paper journal or an app, it's a great way to document what you've done and where you're going. As the saying goes, plan your work and work your plan. Planning a garden can be a challenging task, but with the right tools and strategies, you can create a beautiful, bountiful garden. In this episode, we'll share some tips and tricks for garden planning that will help you create a garden that's both beautiful and functional. Garden planning is a crucial part of gardening. Whether you're an experienced gardener or just starting out, a good plan can help you get the most out of your garden. Let's take a look at the key elements of garden planning, from identifying your garden's purpose to choosing the right plants and more. Back in episode 23, Making a Battle Plan, we were in the height of COVID and folks were focused on quote-unquote viral victory gardens. At that time of uncertainty, traditional victory gardens were the way to go to quickly start growing vegetables. I mean, we didn't know if we were going to have toilet paper, let alone fresh produce. So everyone wanted to start growing vegetables as quickly as possible. In this episode, we're going to branch out into both vegetable gardening, whether that's victory style gardening or raised beds, and also landscape planning, and kind of look at it as a whole. First and foremost, it's essential to identify your garden's purpose. Are you planting a vegetable garden or a flower garden, or maybe both? Knowing what you want to grow will help you determine how much space you need and how to arrange your garden beds. It's also important to consider the amount of sunlight your garden will receive and whether you have the right soil type for the plants you want to grow. The first step of any garden plan is inspiration. I use a wide variety of sources when it comes to planning my garden spaces. YouTube is a great source of inspiration. Something I've found recently, thanks to my wife, is British fashion and garden bloggers.
Oh, I need to look through my seeds. I'm pretty sure I can start doing some of my onions now. Too early for courgettes. I'll probably plant radishes directly. But this is the seed haul that I purchased, went a little bit wild with from Burford last week. I think I might do, in fact, yeah, I will. I'm going to do for the first time ever my sets of, where are they? Onions and garlic. Here we go, shallots.
They have really inspired raised bed garden plans. Also, Brits have some weird names for veggies. Aubergine, courgette, mange tout. What? Allow me to translate. Eggplant, summer squash, snow peas. Anyhow, I'm getting sidetracked. Gardening YouTubers and TikTokers are a great resource for inspiration and also general how-to tips. Then there are magazines and books. For my meadow garden and landscape bed design, I've turned to books on creating natural landscapes. We've also hosted several interviews with gardening authors on this very podcast. Joel Karsten, Brie Arthur, Lee Reich, and others all put their own unique twist on gardening techniques. Getting out to see garden exhibits in person is also important. There are gardening trade shows and exhibitions, garden tours, and conservatories. There's something about seeing a display in person that can really help inspire you. This past June, I had the opportunity to go on a local tour of home gardens in Athens County, Ohio. It served as a great opportunity to get ideas tailored to my own climate. Also, each summer I travel to Columbus, Ohio for an industry trade show called Cultivate. There I not only get some ideas from behind the scenes, but I also get to visit the trial gardens at The Ohio State University. Trial gardens are a great way to compare specific varieties of plants if you're trying to narrow down plant choices. The trial gardens at the university mimic the typical flower bed and container environment, so they help both growers like us here at Bob's decide what to grow, but it can also be a benefit to home gardeners too. I recommend visiting a trial garden if you ever have a chance. Once you have a clear idea of what you want to grow and where you want to plant it, it's time to sketch out your garden plan. You don't need to be an artist to create a garden plan. A simple sketch with basic measurements will do. Your plan should include the layout of your garden and beds, the paths, and any other garden features you want to include like fountains or trellises. One trick for this that I've found extremely helpful is Google Maps. Simply take a screenshot of your property, print it out, and sketch directly on that. Also, if you're a geek like me, you might just happen to have a drone for getting highly detailed photos. Drone photography can be extremely helpful for tracking the progression of your garden over time. After you've created your garden plan, it's time to consider the plants that you want to grow. You should choose plants that will thrive in your climate and soil conditions. Research which plants will do well in your area, and consider adding some native plants to attract pollinators and other wildlife. Also, be sure to think about the height and spread of each plant to ensure they have enough space to grow. Personally, with my landscape, I'm shooting for a more natural meadow garden with areas of flowers, fruit trees, and also paths through beautiful fields of grass. I'm slowly working to add in a mix of native flowers and grasses as well. When it comes to garden design, there are a few things to keep in mind. Firstly, consider the overall aesthetic of your garden. Choose colors and textures that complement each other and think about incorporating different heights and textures to create visual interest. Think about the interplay between trees, shrubs, perennials, and annuals. I like to think of trees and shrubs as the woody skeleton of the landscape, perennials as the flesh, and annuals as the seasonal, showy clothes. Think about creating different zones within your garden, such as a seating area or an herb garden, to make your garden more functional and enjoyable. Keep in mind too that gardening is a marathon, not a sprint. Time and budgets are always the limiting factor when planning a garden. TV shows, they make this look easy, like you could do a landscape makeover in a weekend. What they don't show is the team of people and comparatively unlimited budget.
We budgeted $100,000 for the backyard, but we've just been hit with some unexpected costs.
It's important to plan for the long term. I try to come up with both short-term plans, like planting 2 to 3 fruit trees this spring, versus long-term, like building a natural swimming pool to foster an aquatic ecosystem. Sure, that's something I would love to have, but that might be 5 to 10 years down the road. Budgeting also affects how I plant my plants. This might seem counterproductive coming from someone who works at a greenhouse, but garden plants can be expensive, and seed is cheap. If it is something that I want a huge planting of, like cornflowers, I'll buy seed. If it's something that I'm personally not that great at starting, like cabbage for the garden, I'll go with starts from Bob's. Also, big trees tend to be more expensive than buying smaller starts. I'm willing to wait a few years for them to kind of flesh out. This is the time of year where I sit down with some seed catalogs, write down some ideas, and then venture online to buy. Ooh, Don't forget bulbs, too. One final thing to keep in mind is the importance of sustainability in your garden planning. By choosing native plants, composting your waste, and using organic fertilizers, you can create a garden that's not only better for you, but also your local ecosystem. Since dedicating a large portion of my landscape to becoming a meadow garden, I've noticed a huge boost in the variety of wildlife that visit. However, that's presented its own challenges too. Bunnies are cute, but the little buggers love my beans. And don't even get me started about the raccoons in my sweet corn, or the dang deer girdling my apple trees. They're cute. They're cute. It's okay. They're cute. Okay. Yeah. In summary, garden planning is a crucial part of gardening. By identifying your garden's purpose, sketching out your garden plan, choosing the right plants, and investing in quality plants and seed, you can create a beautiful and bountiful garden. And don't forget to incorporate sustainable practices to make your garden not just beautiful, but also eco-friendly. Remember, gardening isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. Or one might say, even a quest. Every great quest requires a map, and at least we're not carrying a ring to Mount Doom. But you might get potatoes.
Potatoes? Boil 'em, mash 'em, stick 'em in a stew.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Keep Growing podcast. I hope you found these tips and tricks helpful for your garden planning. Up next on the Keep Growing podcast, we're going to switch gears because an organization we support, Seed Your Future, is going to be having their Spring Green Career Week. We'll hear from the director of Seed Your Future and explore some of the career opportunities available in our industry. Until next time, keep growing. Copyright 2023, Bob's Market and Greenhouses, Incorporated.